Hello and welcome back to Green Money Momentum, where we talk about market movements, making money, and money momentum. I'm your host, Trevor, and we are here for Monday's daily talk of stock. And oh, didn't it feel so good to have the markets back up? I tell you, once you become a trader and an investor, you always want it to be Monday through Friday because it's just so fun to watch our assets moving. Although they didn't move too much today because the markets overall were pretty flat. As we could see by the heat map here on screen, we did have some green, we did have some red, but the green wasn't too green. Plays just going up by 1% or 2%, while the red wasn't too red either, going down by just 1% or 2%. So days like this, when it is flat, is where I will take the opportunity to eat some flats and drumsticks and take the opportunity to eat some wings. I always make it a celebration of mine when the markets are flat to eat some wings. We got to celebrate all the days. When it's green and pumping, those are the most fun. We got to celebrate those days. When they're flat, we got to celebrate. And heck, when they're red, we have to celebrate because that just means more buying opportunities in the air. But overall, on the economic calendar, there wasn't really anything too much to talk about today, just leading economic indicators, which came in right about what was forecasted. But tomorrow is going to be pretty big because we do have the Fed Chair Jerome Powell having some opening remarks at a banking conference. So it'll be interesting to see what Jerome Powell has to say, if he has anything to say about rates, what we could possibly be expecting at the coming FOMC meeting. And then on Wednesday, we have more existing home sales. Thursday and Friday, not really too much to talk about there either. And in general, investors are still feeling greedy, as are we. And so that's why today we're going to talk about four plays that we're very bullish on. Four plays that we're very bullish on. We're going to first visit the stock DJT, Trump Media and Technology Group. It actually had some nice green movements today, so congratulations to all my investors which are in that play. We're then going to visit BigBearAI, a bit sideways today. Quantum computing, specifically our favorite quantum computing stock, D-Wave Quantum, hit all the way up to $20 today. How amazing. And then last, we're going to finish with Robinhood stock. So first, we're going to get into it with DJT, Trump Media and Technology Group. And many of you I know have been following along with me on this ride since last year. So if you have been with me since last year in October, November, December, I thank you so much for being with me. And I know that this has been a bit of a frustrating ride because we've seen a lot of other plays in the markets go up massively. I mean, since Liberation Day, we have seen some plays, including the ones that we're going to talk about, we've seen them jump by more than 100%. And DJT itself has still stayed pretty flat since Liberation Day, but today was a positive catalyst that we got, and the price movement did move bullish as well. So we pushed up by 3%, and the positive catalyst was that Trump Media is buying their $2 billion in Bitcoin. So we have talked about this before. In general, we are pushing more and more into the mass adoption into cryptocurrency, with the president being the most pro-crypto president of all time. And Trump Media and Technology Group is taking advantage of this by doing the same. And this company has started a lot of Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs, and they've also talked about having this big Bitcoin treasury within Trump Media and Technology Group. And well, now it is official because as this reads right here, they have bought about $2 billion in Bitcoin and related securities. And Trump Media, which owns the Truth Social app, announced in May that they planned to raise $2.5 billion to buy Bitcoin with the goal of creating a reserve of the cryptocurrency. The $2 billion Bitcoin purchase is part of the company's Bitcoin treasury plan. So this company is doing exactly what they said they will do, which is to buy Bitcoin and add this to their balance sheet. And so this will be huge with Trump Media and Technology Group over time, because thus far the company has been fairly new. They haven't had the best earnings or the best revenue up to this point, but adding this Bitcoin and all these financial instruments to their their financial sheet will greatly help improve this company. And as I have been saying, I personally believe that we are sitting at the basement for this stock and that it is a great buying opportunity under $20. So just $20 for a share of DJT is a steal with all that this company will be doing and everything they will be producing in the future. Again, Trump Media and Technology Group really is a lot more than just a social media platform. They really are a lot of fintech and financial services, especially around cryptocurrency. But when we just look at the technical analysis, as I've been saying, we are trading in the basement. And I say that because when we look at the history of DJT, a major floor of support for this stock has been this middle level of support line I have on the screen, which is the floor. So I consider the three lines we have here to be the highest level of the floor, the bottom of the floor, and then the basement, which we are currently trading at. But with today's pop, we are getting closer to that floor, which sits right around $21 to $27. So hopefully we do see DJT continue to pick up momentum and reach back to $21 because, again, where it is at is sitting at a steal. And with the thought of being in the basement, the other technical indicators confirm that to look true as we are looking low on the relative strength index and on the MACD also. So if we just go off of technical analysis, we are looking a bit oversold in this play, meaning that we could see a pop in the very near future. And this company, this stock right here, is prone to massive run-ups. We've seen this stock pump like crazy in the past, initially when it had its initial public offering, and then multiple times on the campaign to Trump getting back into office. We saw when he got shot in the ear and the stock pumped massively from there. We saw the stock pump massively when he got elected and back into office. But there's been a lot of halting and manipulation in the past with this stock, and it's definitely a funky play. So there has been some volatility up to this point, but what I would encourage DJT investors to think about is, again, everything this company is doing, and then also think about a lot of the big investors that are within DJT. So we have Kash Patel invested into DJT, Linda McMahon, the Trump family. We know before Trump changed the stocks from being in his individual ownership. He transferred it to a family, but he held about 51% of the entire stake of DJT. So a lot of big influential players behind DJT wanting to see this play run. And I believe the time will come sometime here in the near future with them officially adding the Bitcoin to their balance sheet. This is absolutely massive for the company. And so now with that, we're going to hop into our next stock, which has been a bit flat in the recent term, but has had a massive run up over the last month, and that is BigBearAI. So currently Big Bear is sitting at $7.49, but overall I consider this sideways consolidation and a little bit of bleeding that we have had to be positive, because overall when we just zoom out a tad little bit and look at the last month to 3 months in BigBearAI, we were sitting in the $2 range there for a while. In the high twos, got to the 3, and we were battling between 3 and 4 for some time. We had this rising level of support and resistance in Big Bear for quite some time. A lot of investors took this opportunity to take some profits and build up their position in the Big Bear, which is great because right after that, we saw the Big Bear jump on this hyper bullish trend. So we have seen in the recent term Big Bear be on this hyper bullish trend. And what I have been saying is what appears to be forming is a bullish flag pattern. And with the sideways consolidation, this is positive because this is just allowing the flag to build and not going straight up in 100, 200% rips, I think is healthy, because when we look at the last jump we had in Big Bear, which was in February, that rip was euphoric and it came all the way back down. So hopefully this jump is looking a little bit more sustainable sustained. Again, I believe we could be seeing the bullish flag pattern grow within BigBearAI. We could see a surge up, and overall this consolidation is positive because when we look at the other indicators of the relative strength index and the MACD, we are coming back down a little bit on those indicators. So on the relative strength index, we aren't looking as overvalued as we were just shortly ago on July 3rd when we initially had that big pop. So the cooling down has been positive. When we look at the MACD, we could see that the blue and the orange are right with each other. I do expect a bounce off of the blue going back towards the upside. I do believe that we will see more positive bullish momentum in BigBearAI, and I'm just talking about this bullish flag, but when we look at the overall trend since February, some have been saying that this is a cup and handle. We could see at February when we had the drop, that was the beginning of the cup. In the recent term, we have had the handle form, and now all we need is the big rip up. And again, this consolidation is no worry for me because what I am looking at for the Big Bear is going to be their earnings that is going to be coming in, 21 days. So Big Bear is going to be announcing their earnings on August 11th. When we look at the history of Big Bear's earnings, we know historically they haven't been the greatest. So they've missed Wall Street's expectations many times. But what is positive is looking at the history, they have had some big quarters up to $40 million and being pretty consistent around that range. But what is really most positive about the Big Bear and why I am so bullish during this specific time period is because in the early part of the year, and a lot of this could be tracked with that first rip up that we had in the early part of the year, a big reason why a lot of this momentum started was because Big Bear gained some big government contracts and they put Kevin McClain as their new CEO who has ties back to Trump, which puts them in a favorable position for future contracts. But just talking about the old contracts in February, what is positive is that when they got these new contracts, they did announce in their Q1 earnings that the money had yet to show up in their bank account. So these government contracts will be paid with time through the years, which is positive because we could possibly be seeing some of those earnings in this next report. And even if not in Q2, we will see it in future earnings reports, and this should just help to give BigBearAI a steadier earnings over time, help to elevate it, because with each contract, especially with them being paid over time, this will just help Big Bear with their earnings, and that is what the big investors are always looking for, consistent earnings. And so Big Bear, we are hoping, gains even more government contracts, and they just start to build within the pipeline. When we compare it to a stock that many compare Big Bear to, they are different companies, but they do have some similarities. Palantir, when we look at the history of Palantir, Palantir was sitting around $7 for quite some time, but Palantir was picking up a lot of momentum within the company. They were gaining a lot of big government contracts, and now when we look at their earnings over time, accelerating. So Big Bear still a far way away from that. I don't want to put any fear of missing out or put expectations in investors' heads more than what they are. Big Bear still has a long way to go. Big Bear still has debt, but overall, what Big Bear is doing is very positive, and they are in a bunch of different sectors. So they are working with the government, with their defense. We've talked a lot about that, but they also work within the airports, and then they also did have their big UAE deals not long ago. So overall, BigBearAI is doing so much. We are super bullish on this company. I know it is a favorite on this channel, and he's one of my favorites too. He sits in my background. As I always talk about, I am bullish on the Big Bear. So he is with us all the time. I see Big Bear continuing to rip, and there is some fear, uncertainty, and doubt again, because when we look at the history of Big Bear, these big rip ups and downs, basically pump and dumps, have happened in the Big Bear many times. But what I encourage investors to think about is everything that we have actually seen this company do in this last year. So in the past, Big Bear didn't have everything it has now. Now Big Bear has their new CEO, again, puts them in a more favorable position. They have already gained government contracts, and they are all over the airport. So some like to joke about Big Bear like Big Brother, because they are all around, and they really are. This company is continuing to expand. So very bullish on the Big Bear. We will continue to cover the Big Bear. And again, the main date I am looking at is going to be here in a couple weeks when they announce their earnings on the 11th. And so now that brings us to our last stock. So BigBearAI, a value play, a company that we see a lot of value in that has yet to be realized. But Robinhood stock, this is a company where the value is being realized every day. And since Liberation Day, we have seen this stock jump by more than 250%. And so now some investors are starting to wonder, is Robinhood stock overvalued? And maybe even others sold off a little bit of Robinhood today, or they are looking at this in a negative scope because Robinhood recently got past the psychological break of $100. And so now to some, this may be looking very expensive, but just like I said in my video over the weekend about Robinhood, Robinhood will continue to stay expensive. So was Robinhood expensive at $50? Yeah, a little bit. Was it expensive at $75? Yeah, a little bit. Was it expensive at $100? Yeah. Is it expensive at $110? Yeah. Will it be expensive at $135? Yeah. Will it be expensive at $200? Yeah, you get the point. So the bears will continue to push away the thought of a growth stock many times. But what a growth stock is a company that continues to grow in both share price and the fundamentals of their company. Typically, they have accelerating earnings and they are doing great innovative things. They are really a disruptor within their sector, which is what Robinhood is exactly. When we think about just the history of Robinhood over these last 10 years, they have really done so much and they have really changed the financial game. So there are tons of different brokerages, but Robinhood by far the most popular one among young people especially, and it has really encouraged more people than ever to start investing into their own portfolio, not taking it to a manager. So Robinhood has been a huge disruptor, and Robinhood really this last year has done so much. So Robinhood, not only just an app where you could invest into the markets of the New York Stock Exchange, you could also invest into the crypto markets, and Robinhood also becoming full fintech. Earlier this year, they announced in April that they will be announcing their banking product, so becoming an official bank. That is going to happen this fall. Also, Robinhood does sports betting, and Robinhood has all the future markets. So earlier last year, you could bet on who is going to be the president, and with everything that Robinhood is doing in all of these sectors, Robinhood is making money through the fees and the transactions. So think about the Wolf of Wall Street. I remember in that something they talked about, I think it was like Jordan Belfort or whoever, the guys up at the top of the office, they were talking about how they're making money through the transactions of the market. All these fools to say are thinking they're making money, but really they're just making equity and they're just going to shuffle it into the next thing. And where the guys in Wall Street were getting rich is they were actually making the paper within the equity markets. And so that is exactly what Robinhood is doing. They are making the paper within the equity markets. It doesn't matter if stocks pump or dump because Robinhood is taking the money from every single transaction that is happening. So they are a lot with the transactions. They also have Robinhood Gold also. So they have that. As well. They're getting their monthly income from Robinhood Gold. Just a lot of ways this company is making money. And again, when we look at their earnings, they are accelerating over time. Their biggest earnings report came in Q4 of 2024 when they reached $1 billion for that quarterly. It did come down a little bit for the first quarter in 2025, but we are highly anticipating their next earnings, which is coming in 9 days, and it is going to be a part of this big earnings week next week. They're going to be dab in the middle right on Wednesday, July 30th. So something to look for with Robinhood. I think this could be a big spark within Robinhood, and myself, just as I said over the weekend, even with the drop drop in Robinhood today, that does not put any fear into me because I am investing into this play for the long term. And where there are these opportunities for a little bit of a drop off, I will take that opportunity to invest more. I believe that Robinhood will be back to $110 by the earnings, and I think that they could be at $120 by earnings. And if they don't reach 120 before earnings, I believe their earnings will push them up to 120 because I believe in their earnings they will have a strong quarterly report, and I believe that they will also come out with some great guidance for the future. And so very bullish on Robinhood. And now that brings us into the last play of the day, one of my favorite plays. Oh my gosh, I have so much love for quantum computing. It has truly been life-changing this last year. Quantum has been explosive. The first time I called out quantum on this channel was around these levels here, and we got really bullish on quantum. I actually called for the squeeze to happen right at this level here, and it did happen. So we were on this rising level of support and resistance in D-Wave quantum throughout the entire year. And then with their last quarterly earnings, they came out with a massive one. So they beat their revenue expectations. They more than 5x'd their revenue from any quarters previously. And this stock jumped by more than 200%. So in the short term, there has been some volatility with D-Wave Quantum, but it has been riding on this level of what used to be a rising level of support, but is now used to be a rising level of resistance, but is now the rising level of support. And D-Wave Quantum has been bouncing. So this stock today actually hit $20. There was a bit of a broad market sell-off, so D-Wave did sell off with the rest of the market, but wow, how amazing was it to see $20 in D-Wave Quantum. If you don't understand quantum computing, I definitely recommend doing some research and getting into quantum because there is so much that quantum computing is doing to change our lives. And the reason why I talk so much about D-Wave Quantum is because this company in particular is working with a lot of big corporations. So they do with their quantum computers, they help to solve extremely difficult problems that would otherwise take years and years for classical computers to do that. And so with quantum, I believe it's one of those sectors that is only going to continue to grow. I mean, look at the markets in general. What is the biggest company when it comes to market cap? It's NVIDIA with a $4.20 trillion market cap. This is a chip company. Who would have ever thought that it would have that explosive gain? But people see the value in NVIDIA's chips, and I believe that the value will be seen in quantum computing, and it is being more realized every day. So in general, the quantum sector, not just D-Wave, but the whole sector has had massive returns this year, and it has definitely been one of the best investments I have made through the year. So myself, I am very excited about D-Wave Quantum, and when we type in QBTS and we look at their next earnings report, it is going to come in 17 days. And just look at that history of their earnings. So that's what I was saying. Their quarter one came in their best ever. For their next quarter, Wall Street is expecting for it to be just right where it used to be. So it'll be interesting to see what D-Wave brings in. Really, D-Wave Quantum is doing so much when it comes to innovation. I am super excited about what the technology they bring to the table is, and I am super excited about the whole quantum sector in general. So as I've said before, I annoy some of the people I talk to in real life because if you talk to me, it's all about stocks and quantum. I talk about quantum so much, and it is so exciting to see that quantum is rising again. So I would love to hear what everyone else thinks in the comments section below. Please let me know on whether you're invested into any of these four plays or anything else. I always love to hear from you guys. So please drop that comment. Please leave a like and please subscribe to the channel. As always, I appreciate you guys for being here for the daily talk of stock, and I will see you in the next one.